to This Is Whole Life, a podcast from the Whole Life Church in Orlando, Florida.
Join me, Ken Wetmore, lead pastor, and Melanie Bachman, our worship pastor, along with our communication team, Randy and Lucas. Take a look back, a look deeper, and a peek into the week ahead.
Here we explore meaningful conversations about spirituality, community, and living with purpose.
We don't have all the answers, but we are walking the journey together.
Wherever you're listening from, you're wanted here.
This is Whole Life.
Hey everyone, it's episode 513 of This Is Whole Life, and we are missing a Melanie. If you've seen her, please tell her to phone home. We're missing her. Nah, just kidding. We know no, not kidding that we miss her. We're just kidding that we don't know where she is.
What are you kidding about there, Randy? You nearly got yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, just keep digging. I'm sure.
And by the way, Melanie, if you're listening to this, why are you listening to this? You're on vacation.
That's right. Turn it off.
Turn it off right now.
Pause it and turn it off. Come back later. This week was, it's one of the best weeks we have every year. And I know we say that a lot, but it just seems to
every week's a good week, Randy. Every week's a great week.
Agreed. No lies detected. No arguments made. But man, Easter. There's something about Easter that seems to bring out the best in all of us. And by all of us, I mean there's been conversations that's been happening on the Slack channel. We have texts. We have voicemails this week.
Wow.
And it's just really. I guess we've been striking some I don't want to say nerves, but just striking conversation, striking the thought process to dig a little bit deeper. And of course, every week we would love to hear from you. Podcast at wholelife.church or via voicemail or text to 407-965-1607. The conversation is always better when we have you. So it is Ken Wetmore, Lucas, and Randy today here on the podcast. And let's jump right in. We had a message from Randy in the Slack channel, and this was about lament. And I found her thoughts to be interesting. And it starts out, as I sat and listened to the last week's podcast on lament, Ken talked about how he never heard a sermon about lament. Well, at Andrews as a professor, there was a worship group, The One Place, where we actually spent 2 series largely dealing with lament over the 4 years we were members there. One on Lamentations, another on Ecclesiastes, which contains a good bit of lament. In addition, we spent a semester in the Psalms, and a significant part of the Psalms are also laments. I guess that is the water of having a bunch of theologians, STA theological seminary professors, and undergrad religion professors as the speaking team. But beyond that, I have to say it's not a common topic over the 50-plus years of sermons I've heard. Let me add this thought. In the modern Western U.S. evangelical bubble, we have deeply shunned lament and grief, and we don't have funerals anymore. We have celebrations of life. We have structurally removed the processes, the lament, the sitting in the loss, the contemplation that comes with this contemplation. We don't allow grief to be and live in and through. Grief, lament, it is a part of life, but we give a short shrift in our modern world. One last thought. Moving to the upcoming week of Easter, at the close of the podcast, Tenebrae came up. Ken talked about how it was a service to enter into the suffering of Christ, and I agree. But a question for the team, isn't Tenebrae also a service and a time to draw us into the suffering of those who are in our midst, in our community, in our neighbors? And I was like, well, that's a good way to think about it, especially if it sparks those feelings and those emotions in us that we should definitely, I think, consider it, and even more so, if it's strong, let's put it in motion. Let's think about that suffering, and maybe how we could spend a little time at Easter, maybe in a little outreach, maybe someone you know, someone you haven't talked to for a little while. Reach out, see if there's some way that we could help. So I just thought that was really interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah, very good.
Because we had just been discussing, I believe it was while we were going through the Game Changers with Melanie and Lucas and I, and she just kind of mentioned during the Widow of Nain section how, nobody sits like that anymore. There's not the procession. There's not the time. They're not wrapping your loved one and preparing them for burial and all of those things. And so I thought that it was interesting that more than one came to that same conclusion. So thanks for sending that in, Randy. We appreciate it. And we got a text message Hi, guys. It's your number one friend. Ooh, we've turned from
Oh.
fan to friend, Mariana. I just wanted to respond to Ken's comment last week. And Ken, my favorite fruits are mango and coconut. Anything citrusy, really. Any of those guavas, anything like that would be sufficient for me saying that I was right. So,
Well, I'd be happy to get one for you, even when you're wrong.
Tune in next week for the final showdown, and let's see. That's all right. That's good stuff.
But I suppose we'll have to wait for heaven to, settle it once and for all.
That's a distinct possibility. Distinct possibility. All right, Roxana, thank you. She's back, and she said, "Forgive me for being 1 to 2 sermons behind sometimes. I listened to Finding Comfort in Lament sermon this morning on my way to work, and I loved the depth of the message. That reminded me of how important it is in any relationship with God, whether with God, family, spouse, kids, to keep that open line of communication, easy for me to say. Stonewalling or silent treatment or repression, like Ken said, is one of the fastest ways to relationship ischemia because you are cutting off connection. And when you fight back and when you're expressive about how you feel, it means you're still invested and that you care. Silence is apathy. Great message, Roxana."
Thank you, Roxana.
Yeah. And so then finally, we have a time for Ken to prove that he was right. And so I am way super excited about what's about to happen here. So let's see. Let's get the right one. I believe it's this one here. So here we go.
Mariana, don't think that this has anything to do with our discussion.
No. This wait. As we play this voicemail, you will immediately know what it's about. But very complimentary, and it's a good message. So here we go.
It's Carolina Day, and it's Easter Sunday, so. I know this won't be played until Wednesday, but to you, Melanie, Lucas, and Ken, happy Easter. And I hope everything's going well with you guys. I watched the service yesterday. Oh, boy. I can't wait to get to heaven because that choir was just like God put them down here on earth to sing for us. And they were just so wonderful. So my compliments to everyone that worked on that. And the Game Changers movie, oh, that was powerful. That moved my heart. It really did. But what really moved my heart, though, was Ken's message. That made me think about some stuff I haven't thought about before. I can't put it into words, but it was a wonderful, it was a wonderful message. And I sure do appreciate that. Now, even though he delivered it wearing a sweater vest, and I don't know if he's under the weather or something, but I know it was about to be 80 degrees in the 80s in Orlando yesterday, so I hope he's feeling okay because he's wearing that sweater vest. And so I'll keep him in my prayers for good health. I'll be praying for him anyway, along with the rest of you all. Now, in reference to the theme song for the podcast, it's a catchy little song. I'll give you that. It is very creative and has a good little rhythm to it, and I like the song. Now, having said that, I did say I like the song, but in the context of having it for the podcast, I miss the old song, Randy. I really do. And I've thought about this, thought about it a lot. I wish we could have the old song back. So, but I know right now you're probably not too happy that I'm agreeing with Ken. But you know what? Ken, I stood, just go on a little sidetrack here. Back in high school, when Ken ran for student government president, I supported him then. And when he ran for student government president in college, I really supported him then. I was proud of it. And I'm proud to stand with him now when it comes to the theme song. Ken's right.
Oh,
Melanie, I think.
yes. All right, there we are.
That's it.
Man, Dave, you are still on the payroll, sir.
He called in a second time. He kind of got cut off there, but he just basically apologized in the second for getting cut off. And it's okay. It's okay, Dave. I understand. It's but hearing the words, Ken is right. It pierced my heart just a little bit.
There are no more beautiful words in the English language.
What's the 3 words you always want to hear?
I honestly thought he was with you guys. I really did. I thought that he was going to be on team new stuff here.
Oh, man.
My daughter is. Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah, Kyla's like, Randy's right. So
okay, well, you know.
Oh, Kyla.
But now that I know that Dave's on my side, I can tell you that. I feel like it gives me more.
We can release what's under the second coconut.
Oh man, Carolina Dave, what a guy! What a great man.
Man, he's been Ken supporting all the way back to high school.
Yeah, I wish everybody had a friend like Dave. Dave has been just truly in my life, just one of those really amazing friends that sticks with you. We first met in high school, and Dave he's just such a fun person. And we actually roomed together for a while in college, and I graduated a little bit before him, and he was in my wedding. So yeah, Dave is just one of those friends that's with you all the way. And like you said, he was my campaign manager for Student Association president in college. And
so were either of those bids successful?
Both of them were because of Dave.
Because of Dave?
Because of Dave. I would not have made it on my own.
Well, there you go. High praise for Dave. And even though that you disagree with me, Dave, please do continue to reach out. It's always good to hear your voice and to know that you're out there watching every week and hanging out with us. It's that's always a comfort when we get back to the week and hear your voicemail or your email on occasion. It's
the other thing I have to agree with him on is the choir was amazing, and the videos that you and Lucas put together. Oh wow, those just blew my mind. When you guys first showed me, my mind exploded when I saw how you did them. And yeah, just the amount of time and effort and work that it took to make that happen, just kudos. And Melanie did a great job writing the scripts for it. Our voice actors did a phenomenal job with the voices, and then you guys just did a great job put it together. I mean,
well, and then Melanie went back afterwards. We didn't even know this until Saturday morning, but she had gone and animated some of the worship slides for the song so that it matched more closely and had movement in them.
That was so good.
That was awesome.
It just, and I know there's someone saying, well, that looks a lot like a show, or that looks a lot like, something that maybe isn't church. But I would argue that when you, and I know it's hard to see that some of the things and get the total feel from online, it has its limitations. But sitting in the worship center, and when the waves are crashing and the thunder is rolling in the background and the sound effects that are playing while the disciple is talking about their experience on the boat and Jesus calming the storm, and our lighting crew has blue and white lights that are timed with the crashing, and you kind of forget for a moment that you're sitting in the worship center, and you kind of get immersed in this, just like a good movie brings you in, and you kind of wake up a second and go, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm sitting in my living room, or I'm sitting in the theater. And if you want to say it's a show, then so be it. But don't discount the real emotions that we are attempting to draw you into, to tell the story in a way that makes your emotions part of it, so you can feel what they felt. You can feel the terror. You can feel the dread that, we knew how this was going to end. We were going to drown. And, and there he is sleeping, and then he gets up and he, says 2 words. And I mean, that just gave me goosebumps just retelling that. And if that doesn't move you to a spot where you really appreciate the power of what he did, even though we've heard the story so many times. That's the challenge. How do you tell the same story?
Did you get some emails or something? You seem very. No. Did you get feedback or something? Because I didn't hear any of that.
I didn't hear any of that, but every time we've done something like that, it's like I always feel like there's No one wants to be the wet coat. Very few people want to really be the wet coat. But I've heard it enough that I feel like it's there somewhere.
Probably.
And I would invite anyone that just felt that way to just really think about.
Oh, it's totally okay. If you felt like that way, that's totally okay. I mean, we all have our feelings on things, and I just think it's so important that we make the gospel relevant and that we make it digestible and understandable.
Digestible. I was looking for a word.
For every generation. And so that's one of the things that I just love about what we did.
Yeah.
And we'll keep doing that kind of thing because that's what we do. There's plenty of other places that you can run to get a different format.
Yeah.
But
I heard from people that were surprised.
Yeah.
Just like, wow, I wouldn't have guessed that this maybe would have been my jam.
Yeah.
But well done.
What I loved about it was I think that there's a difference between trying to entertain people and a difference between helping people be able to understand biblical concepts in a way that's relevant and makes sense to them. And for those of you who are, those of you who have grown up Seventh-day Adventist and you're familiar with some of the different writings of Ellen White, one of the things that's always stuck out to me through the years, and it was pointed out to me in one of my theology classes back in college, in Christ's Objects Lessons, Ellen White talks about how Jesus I think it's on page 6. It's really close to the beginning of the book. But it's Christ's Objects Lessons, and Ellen says that at the beginning of Jesus' ministry, he spoke in words so plain that anybody could have understood. And she's referring to, like, when you think about the book of Matthew, she's talking about the Beatitudes and his sermons where there was but then she says that Jesus switches up what he's doing. And you kind of see this, that he starts telling stories, telling parables. And she says that, and I'm trying to quote it as close as I can, but she says that in Jesus' time, parables were a very popular method of entertainment.
Yeah.
I'm using the word entertainment. She didn't use that word. But basically, they were a very popular way of communicating. And so Jesus takes that method and he changes up the way he was doing it. He was preaching in sermons, but he wasn't having the impact that he wanted. So Jesus changes it up and starts using parables. And I've always loved that, because if Jesus can change up his methods, well, then how about the rest of us? And what does it say that Jesus was willing to do things in a way that made sense to his listeners? And I'm trying to see if I can look up this quote for you, because it's just one of my favorite.
Well, and that's always something that after we moved to Florida and we became involved in a number of different services, church services, and one of my favorite people, Bill Crofton, always said, "Look, we're not changing our theology just because we're doing the methodology in which we deliver it is changing or is different than might be traditional or has been done before." So I always thought that was a nice way to just remind, it's like, we're not changing what was said, or just the methodology and how we deliver that for someone to take it in and digest it.
Yeah.
I like that. Cool. Did you find it?
Here we go. Yep, I did. It's on page 20. In the earlier part of his ministry, Christ had spoken to the people in words so plain that all his hearers might have grasped the truths which would make them wise unto salvation. But in many hearts the truth had taken no root, and had been quickly caught away. Therefore speak I to them in parables, he said, because they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, their eyes have closed. Jesus desired to awaken inquiry. He sought to arouse the careless and impress truth upon the heart. Parable teaching was popular and commanded the respect and attention not only of the Jews, but of the people of other nations. No more effective method of instruction could he have employed. If his hearers had desired a knowledge of divine things, they might have understood his words, for he was always willing to explain them to the honest inquirer. So anyway, I just love that, because to me it's this whole idea that Jesus is willing to change up his method to get his message across. And I think that's important for us. And it's one of the reasons why we do things the way we do them at Whole Life. Our target audience, we definitely are love having our long-term whole life family here. But one of the things that we believe our primary purpose is to share the gospel with people who may not be familiar with it, who haven't heard it before, and that don't know the stories the way that some of you who have been around it for a long time do. And so we try to put it in ways that would appeal to somebody who's maybe just coming to Jesus for the first time. We think in doing that, we also reach out to those of you who've heard this story a lot of times as well.
Yeah.
And maybe you see it in a new way, in a different way too. So yeah, I'm really proud of everything that our worship team pulled off this last week. It was, I don't think anybody has any idea how hard and technically difficult what occurred. And I am talking about the videos, but I'm also talking about the church service in general. I think that a lot of times, if you're like me, you'll show up to something and you just enjoy it. It's like, well, that was good. Or, whatever. And you don't always realize everything it takes to make something happen. I just think about all you mentioned how Abel and his team made they sunk everything together so that, everything, the lighting was timed out with different things. But it wasn't just with the video, it was with the music and all those things. And then there's the video work that has to take place so that our online audience can feel fully immersed and fully engaged with things, which I had a number of people reach out to me and talk about how engaged they feel online with the experience, the online experience. So, but all that takes a lot of thought, and just watching Abel and our sound people working on the sound system. I mean, it's not one or two mics; it's a lot of different things that are going on there. Yeah. So anyway, just kudos to everybody, and we all do it because we love Jesus, and we want more people to love Jesus and go deeper in their relationship with Jesus, and that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, and the thing I really liked about I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure. As you go into something, you're wondering, is this going to have the impact that I want? Is it going to have the like something like the AI, the video? But it was fun to watch. I didn't realize how many people would try to figure out during the video, man, that voice sounds familiar. Who am I listening to? And then it's like at the end, they're like, that was Tammy.
I knew it. Or it's like, oh, no way. Yeah, I heard that too.
And then I heard someone behind me go, Nebs, which of course was going back to Razan, who was Nebuchadnezzar last year during one of our series. And so, those people, and then of course, I think everybody guessed Craig just because it's really hard to not.
Yeah. What a great voice.
Right? The voice is so good.
And the acting too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and everybody just did a great job with putting their own spin and their personality into it. And I think that maybe that's the part that I enjoyed, was that so much of the humanity, yes, we used a tool that helped us create this comic book style story to unfold in front of you, but it was all human. It was human written. It was human
script writing.
And for Lucas trying to figure out how to make the main characters continue to look like the main characters and pigs not to look like cows, which
5 fingers and not 7 or 17.
Some people might have a little more than 5 in some parts of the video.
It's okay.
And that's where he just punching a little bit closer so that you can't see those hands. So there's lots of tricks, but it was one of the parts that I felt really came through. And part of it was kudos to Albert and Wycliffe for getting the worship team and the choir together. And then that just really pulled it all together when you see both aspects all together, and everything flowed so well. It was just, I think this is
Lucas, are you like willing to give away how you did it and any info on how you put that together and how that worked?
Yeah, I mean,
at Whole Life Orlando, check out our social as soon as you hear the episode, right?
Yeah, actually, I posted this morning.
Did you post it already? Okay.
Yeah, but essentially what we did is record people and then transform them into AI characters, and then we build the characters first. So there's a whole process. I think it's kind of complex to explain, but in essential is recording people, transforming them into characters, and we have to do it step by step. And
how many photos?
I think by the end we had over 150 images that we generated.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the prompt. Everyone asked me. I don't know how many people asked me. So how long was the prompt for the pictures, for the video?
Oh boy. The thing is, you have to use AI to create the prompt for you. So like you create the first prompt, it's not full of details, and then you ask AI based on that prompt to create a new prompt. So you use that one, and that one is such a long prompt. It's like,
I heard it was like 6 pages or so.
something like that.
It had to be that one that we were first in, and that's the one I remember looking at in the coffee shop. Lucas and I needed to get away for a couple hours in the morning, so we went to a coffee shop and just sat in the corner and had our nose in this, trying to figure it out in the early stages. And I'm like, scroll. This is a prompt, and then okay, go to this part, and he's telling me change the prompt here. And we'll just say that Lucas had to go and finish them up because I'm not very good at the prompts.
Well, good job, Lucas. Good job,
you.
Randy. Just what a neat way to visualize and tell a story needs to be told. So I love it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
can you imagine? I mean, 3 years ago, you couldn't do something like that, right? I mean, if you did, it would be
Oh man.
Early adopter, maybe, but
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious to see where we're going to be in 5 years from now. And
Ooh.
just like, because right now we can only generate videos for up to 30 seconds.
See, that was the other part that I thought was just so painstaking about what you did, right?
That's the challenge, because for you to keep the visual identity of the characters when you generate a new part of the video, that's so tough. So
So each of the videos was about 2 minutes long, right?
Yes.
And so you would have to do it in a minimum of four different segments.
Exactly.
And you had, if anybody's ever played around with AI images and things like that, the second you ask it to do another image and it looks a little bit different, not completely different, just different. And
the drift is real, though.
They are implementing something now called fixed seed. So we're going to copy and paste that seed, and then it's going to reuse that seed for the second generation. And that makes the second video a little similar.
But you don't have that for this.
We had
that.
you
did have it.
Yeah, but even though it wasn't perfect. So it was,
that hasn't been perfected.
How can I make the nose look more similar to the previous one? And yeah.
Well, kudos.
Yeah, that was a challenge, but it was once it kind of got to the point where it's like, okay, this is as close as we're going to get. And now let's make the rest of it come alive with movement and with sound effects and really bring you into the story. I think those pieces kind of just
you
faded
and
into the background.
You guys worked a lot with the sound effects, the soundtracks, everything.
Yeah.
That whole part of what make everything,
Yeah, we spent an entire day at Melanie's house, the three of us on the couch, trading files and listening. And no, this should be this should be over here. Make this more, make this louder, make it shorter, make it longer, all that kind of stuff. So it was fun though. Once we knew we were going to be able to pull it off, because there was a time when I wasn't sure.
Well,
I wasn't sure.
It was well done.
Well, and like Carolina Dave said, we got to also give credit here to the message, because I think in that same spirit of telling the same story in a way that I've heard from many people that never gave this the hyperlinking that Ken was talking about, even though that created a little bit of confusion early on when people said, where are the rest of these hyperlinks that Ken is talking about?
Metaphoric
but
hyperlinks.
I love the fact that you were listening, paying attention, and going, I want to know more. If there's hyperlinks, I want them. And that was great. So Ken said, when what you see is not always what it is, and something that seems ordinary but isn't, it becomes extraordinary. It's the game changer. And then tying it to this idea of Jesus basically being the setup man a year before these events take place. So we're thinking about...
One might even say before creation, he had already said all this stuff. But sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So, but that makes it even more wild to think about, that this had always been the backup plan, but knew it was going to be that drives me crazy.
We'll move on for you then.
Just to think about it. But Jesus is breaking the bread, and he they're like, when he said, what were the at the Last Supper? What were the disciples doing a year earlier? And it's like, well, just another Passover. Hey, it's Easter 2026 at Whole Life. Just, not completely unlike Easter 2025. Yeah. We sang songs. We all came together. We knew what the expectations were.
It's a big weekend. It's special. We got a plan for it. There's a lot that goes into it, but it's also Easter.
Yeah.
But feeding the 5,000, and when the first person jumped out and said, and you asked how many people did Jesus feed, and they're like 5,000. You're like, wrong. And I was like, okay, Ken is taking us somewhere that I'm not exactly sure where we're going. But then after feeding the 5,000 or more, because we didn't include women and children,
right.
But just assuming that. But then there's 12 baskets of food left over afterward. And thinking about that as we grow in our relationship and we start to understand some of the things of, the bread, breaking the bread doesn't become, maybe when you're young, it's a little like, I don't know, this is kind of weird. This breaking of the bread, the blood, the wine symbolize, it's symbols, but also it just feels a little weird. But then when you see the genius of having the extra and that, his bread, the body, it's more than enough. But the cool part is it's enough to feed you, everybody else.
Yeah, until you're fully satisfied.
And then after that, oh, that's right. Take a little extra with you, that these leftovers, and take it to a world that is starving to death. And you used Matthew 14:19 and Matthew 26. Man, that is small in my notes, guys. I put this picture, and I was having trouble moving this picture.
Good thing you're wearing those progressive glasses. Then.
I know. I scheduled an appointment for myself. I am running out of progressive, I think, is what my problem is. But to think about those, I mean, they're using some of the exact same words and through those. And as you corresponded and drew those hyperlinks, it was like, we've all heard that, wow, God trusts us. I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be sharing the good news and the gospel, and that Jesus is going to come back. But when you think about it, really does show, like, yeah, he's got this set for you. I don't know. It makes it seem like more of maybe the responsibility level seems to climb a little bit when you start to understand how intentional he was about it. Like, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm going to die for your sins, and then that's going to be that, and then we just move on and we don't stop to think about it. But when you add that piece to it, it had me thinking, and then you had another one. I was like, well, man, that's really cool. And then his first miracle of turning the water into wine, and then before the Passover, he's talking about the putting his life into us, making us extraordinary. But the part that got me was, too, the 6 stone water jars.
Yeah.
20 to 30 gallons?
Yep.
That means that at minimum, if he used all 6, that's 120 gallons of wine.
Yeah.
And up to 180 gallons.
Yeah.
Mercy.
Must have been a big wedding.
I think that wedding was the biggest party ever known to man, and Jesus makes this and saves it from becoming a complete, like, the worst party ever known to man. But then you bring in yet again, even further than that now we're talking about, the first miracle wedding. He saves it. He transforms this, and now he's transforming, or will be transforming, the disaster, you said, of this earth into what he always wanted it to be. And he's partnering with us to do it with the leftovers. This is crazy. This has been rolling in my head. And as I was preparing my message for this coming week, this was, I kept getting distracted because I keep coming back to this thought. And how did you find this connection? I've never heard it said this way, or actually, like, draw this to this and this to this, and it paints this picture that is really beautiful.
Yeah. I think that one of the important things when you're preparing for a sermon, Randy, since you're doing that.
Well, I still have some sharpening to do. I'm not done.
Yeah. I think one of the important things about when you prepare for a sermon is reflection time. I think it's really easy to get very what's the right word, to get very to think that your sermon preparation time is sitting down and typing at a computer. But I think that what's also incredibly important is having time built into your schedule where you can slow down and just spend time reflecting on things. And so when we had talked about this theme a long time ago, I started letting it kind of roll around in my head. Where do we want to go? What does a game changer look like? And where it began from this, what I preached on began for me was I was just reflecting on, what a game changer, I've been told it is about Jesus at the Last Supper, this is my blood. And I was thinking about that. And I thought, well, where else does wine show up in the story of Jesus? What else is there where else does it show up in the story? And it like kind of smacked me right in the face as I was thinking. I was like, wait a minute. There's like Jesus' first miracle is water to wine. And then the Last Supper, it's wine. And I wonder, and so then I just started researching that and looking into that and digging into some theology books and found some connections there. And then also, so I thought, well, okay, so if there's that, then what about the bread? And then I was like, well, the feeding of the 5,000. And then I happened upon to see, oh, wow, look at that. The feeding of the 5,000 literally took place 1 year before. And the gospel writer says, now just before the Passover, and says that. And you're like, wait a minute, that can't be like, the gospel writers are so sparse in what they write. It's like they're very to the point. I love that. They're very to the point. So anything they put in there, there's like, it's very intentional, and they want to send you a message, and they expect you to read between the lines
and to figure it out. Yeah.
And to figure it out. And so I started looking at that, and I thought, wow, okay. So there's like all these like parallels between the miracle of the water to the wine, the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000. There's all these parallels to that Last Supper. It's right there. And so then just started kind of working on that and formulating that. And that's how that came to be.
Man, that's...
So no, I hadn't actually heard that before. It wasn't something that that's a past sermon that I heard somebody say this. I actually started...
Not even a starting point. You just kind of figured, I'll figure it out.
And I'm sure I'm not the first person to think of this. In fact, I know I'm not, because it's out there. There's notes and things like that. But yeah, it was just something I was like, oh, that's a really fun thing. And I think people are getting the picture by this point who know me. I've grown up as a Christian. I've grown up in the Seventh-day Adventist faith. And if there's anything that drives me nuts, it's hearing the same story I've heard 1,500 times and hearing it again without and let's just be honest, if it's hard, the stories don't really change. Easter, Jesus is resurrected. That's kind of the main point. Christmas, Jesus is born. That's kind of the main point. It's not like, part 2 or something like things like, they stay the same. In fact, the comedian that I find that I enjoy, and I feel like I can probably mention him here safely, is a guy named Andrew Stanley. He happens to be the son of the very famous Christian pastor Andy Stanley out of Atlanta.
Whose dad was Charles Stanley.
Whose dad was Charles Stanley. So yeah, so Andrew did not become a pastor. He became a stand-up comic, which
that is wild.
He has a really funny riff he does about that too. But he said, I think being in one of his, and I'm sorry, Andrew, if you're listening to this, I'll be shocked that you're listening to this, but if you're listening to this, I apologize for ruining a really great bit. But basically, Andrew says, and you can look it up on YouTube, I think it's there. He says, I always feel sorry for my dad. Like, being a stand-up comic's a lot easier than being a pastor. Being a pastor's hard. He's my dad, he get angry emails all the time from people like, hey, why can't you make the story? I mean, why don't you make it? I heard that before. He's like, the story's the same. it doesn't really change. And then he said, and the author really doesn't like revisions to his writing. So anyway, so it's I found that very humorous as somebody who has to I think one of the hardest things for me is Easter and Christmas. Because you've heard the story so many times. Most people, not everybody, and that's one of the joys when you find somebody who hasn't. You get to tell them and I just, if you ever get the chance to tell somebody the story for the first time and they start understanding the implications of it, it is just one of the most beautiful things to watch people go, oh wow, wow, that's what that's about, and that's what's going on there, and I love that. And for many people, this is 51 years old, there's been 51 Easters. I've heard it at least, 45 times, it's not. And yet, one of the things I'm just discovering, even at this age, is that there are a lot of ways, if you spend time in reflection, you think about things, God really shows you the depth that's in there. And I think it's an inexhaustible well of, if you're willing to put the time and the effort into it. And so one of the things I really try hard, not always successful, but really try hard, is to take the scripture and help people see it, maybe not in a different way, but through a different window. It's like and Ty Gibson talks about this in one of his books. He talks about how if you just imagined a glass building and Jesus standing in the middle of it, or maybe a building with windows. I can't remember exactly what he says, but Jesus is standing in the middle of that building, and you look at Jesus through each different window, you'd have a different vantage of Jesus. Jesus would look differently depending on which window you were looking through. Jesus didn't change. Yeah. In fact, you get to know Jesus better by looking through all those different windows. And so I think the challenge for a pastor, for somebody who's speaking, anybody who's sharing Jesus, is to help people see Jesus through a different window than they're used to seeing him through. Yeah. Because when you do that, you get a deeper appreciation for who Jesus is.
Yeah, for my message this week, I found a couple of verses that I'll be using in the middle of my message that they're stories we all know, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Game Changers in that as you were reading them and it was presented in a different way about how you could look at that based on the topic. And I was like, oh, man, I have not thought of that before. And I'm like, oh, this would be good. This is something I want to share. And that's what I felt like this week was God really worked a miracle here this week, because I believe that everything that we ended up doing, the choir, the music, the song, even down to the song choices, and just everything came together, and everything was just everything felt new. Like from an Easter storytelling perspective, and the picture that you painted, and it not only shows that the Bible's not just chaos and a bunch of things happening by different people and not at the same time, and this was written and this was written and this person knew this person, but that God really is the architect behind it, drawing the blueprint, and then saying, hey, I want you to, this is what you saw, this is how I want you to say it, and trusting that was there. But then that really confirms it when you see things like this that have those parallels, and you go, this isn't just, it makes it more meaningful. It makes it like, man, God really cared that much.
Yeah. So I want to give a little credit here, talking about hyperlinks. Part of my devotional life this year is that I'm reading through the Bible, as I do every year, or attempt to do every year. I try to pick a different Bible version to read through the Bible, to give me, again, that different window, that different lens. But this year, the Bible reading plan that I'm using is from the Bible Project on YouVersion of the digital online Bible. But anyway, the point is, the hyperlinks come from the Bible Project. They talk about in this Bible reading plan how this story hyperlinks metaphorically to this story. And I didn't get the water to wine from them, or the bread and the feeding of the 5,000, but the idea of the hyperlinks, because right now I think I'm in I know I'm still in the Old Testament working my way through with them. But they were talking about how, I think in different books, how this, like particularly the book of Judges, how this story, if you double click on it, hypothetically or metaphorically, it takes you back to this. The author is making a point back to this one. You know, for example, they talk about how when Saul was chosen to be king of Israel, the author really spends a lot of time talking about how tall he was and how handsome he was. And on the other side of things, it talks about David. It talks about how he was a good-looking guy, but he was, you know, not that big. He was the least of those, right? And so, and they're trying to, the authors are kind of using physical terms to do compare and contrast characters as well as physical attributes of a person. And so, anyway, so I want to give credit there. And it's when you spend time looking at the Bible through different lenses and from different people who have different ideas, you got to be careful. Not every idea is a good idea. But sometimes you'll really pick up some things that you'll be like, wow, that's very, that helps me out in my own personal devotional life. And so, yeah, that hyperlink idea actually comes directly from the Bible Project, which if you're not familiar with, I highly recommend. They're excellent.
Do they have a year-long plan? I've seen a lot of their story-based ones. But.
So they do have a year-long plan, but the way it works is you're reading the Bible, and they have videos, not every day, but some days. So I would say, you know, probably 50% of the time there's a video that goes along with, and that kind of explains what you're reading that day or an aspect of something that you're reading that day. And so the videos are outstanding. The Bible reading plan is excellent. I really have enjoyed it. It's been one of my, you know, near the top of my list of Bible reading plans that I've done. It was a good one.
So would you put that link? Would you send me the link to that study?
Yeah, I'll try to.
Yeah. I think we have in some of the bathrooms in the church a flyer.
That's right. We do. That's the same one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the one that, it's the one. What I told people this year was, rather than doing, last year we kind of did a whole group, everybody together doing it. And this year what I encourage people to do is to find their group of friends, maybe that don't even go to this church, and to do the Bible reading. And by the way, if you haven't started it, it's not too late to start. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'll just be done in March of next year, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Or if you want to just accelerate, you just maybe read two of them a day, and you can still do it easily. So, you know, whatever works for you. And some people, you know, maybe reading through the Bible isn't what you're needing to be doing spiritually right now. Maybe there's something else that you're needing to be doing, but do be spending time with God, growing that relationship every day.
Well, theirs are just always so engaging. I know Emily really enjoys them, so we've used them a lot. But I didn't realize. I guess I wasn't paying attention. See, it happens pretty easily when you're not paying attention. Well, things can pass you by. But that one sounds interesting because I think I did 3 years in a row, and I felt like maybe this year I'm not going to do that. I'll do something different. Yeah. But then I didn't really have a plan. That's the problem. If you're going to change, you got to have a plan so that something happens, because it's like, otherwise you find out like, oh man, this is only when was the last time I sat down?
So you don't have a Bible reading plan this year?
I don't. But
so can I make a recommendation to you?
Go for it.
Here's what I suggest. I suggest you pick a couple of the books of the Bible that are your favorites.
Ooh.
And I would suggest you pick a version of the Bible that isn't your favorite.
Ooh.
And then I shouldn't say. Pick a version that isn't the easiest for you to read. Maybe I would sometimes say like the New King James Version, something like that.
Ouch. Okay.
And take the book that you really enjoy. So the book of Mark or Galatians or
Romans
or 1st and 2nd Samuel, whatever. Take the book and write it out in your own words.
Ooh.
So you just you read a couple verses, and then you just paraphrase it and write it, put it in a document that you can keep, and just write it out in your own words. And sometimes you might want to do a little extra research. Maybe you'll Google, tell me more about this, or
Yeah.
what's happening here, or maybe you get the Blue Letter Bible, if you know what I'm talking about
Yep.
there, or maybe you're so confused by what the particular version that you're paraphrasing from is saying that you maybe, I'm going to cheat and look at a different version and see what it says about this. But just write it out in your words. And it's not important that you're trying to do this word for word. What you're trying to do is write it the way that you hear the story being told, or you hear, or just putting it in your own words, the way that you would want to read the Bible and what it means to you, what you're hearing God say in that passage to you. So yeah, I've done that extensively, and I love it because you can go back and look at what, how you interpret.
Yeah.
It's called a paraphrase. It's not a translation.
Sure.
But it's really good for your own devotional. And what you find is as you do that, you have to think more deeply about the passage because you're having to put it into other words.
Yeah, something you can resonate with. Oh, that's a cool idea because I felt, man, the 2 years in a row, and then the third year, it took me forever to finish the plan that I was in with a group of people. And it was, and the fun of that, though, when you do it that way, is that you are finding what other people are taking out of it. And but it was, when you get into certain sections of the Bible, it feels really long, and you're like, and sometimes that just doesn't line up with your personal life so well, and you're like, man, I'm going to get behind. And then if I get behind, I feel like I'm not part of the discussion. And then I got to feel like I got to catch up. But then I catch myself reading to read to catch up instead of really let it sink in. So is that, you fight with yourself over that kind of thing, however you do it. But that's a good idea. That's cool.
The great part is that you can go at your own speed. You just do one verse or do a whole chapter. I suppose you could do a whole book at one setting if you wanted to, but that would be a lot. But I guess not as much if it's the book of Jude. You'd probably be okay with that.
Yeah, it'd probably be okay.
But
Psalms? Maybe not.
But like I said, you can put as much into it. You can just go through and just write what it means to you, or you can get commentaries out. You can research and go as deep as you want.
Most of those are available online too,
easily.
Right?
BibleGateway.com has a lot of free resources. Blue Letter Bible gives you the Strong's concordance of what all the different words mean, so you can look and click on them and say, oh, what is that word in the original language?
Too, don't they?
They do have an app as well.
Yeah.
Yep, they do as well. And then some of those nifty AI tools are pretty handy too for helping you. So
yeah, they are.
Yeah,
cool. Well, that's a good idea. I think I might have to give that a whirl. Okay, Easter. So what's next? What's our big? What's
well, I want to say one more thank you to Melanie, because Melanie and Albert did a wonderful job putting together a Easter sunrise service at 7 a.m. Sunday morning out at Lake Winya on the campus of Advent Health University, and over 50 people showed up. It was really well attended. I had been prepared for it to be me and Albert and Melanie and maybe two other people that decided to show up at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, on Easter Sunday morning. But it really had a great turnout. We're really excited. We already have plans for how to here at Whole Life, we were like, well, that was nice, and now how can we go ahead and make it even better? And how can we grow it? So we have some ideas on how to make it. Melanie walked away that morning. She's like, oh, today gave me some ideas. I've got some ideas for next year, so you won't want to miss next year. I can tell you, it's going to be great. Well, one of the fun things that I was made aware of is that Advent Health University has a building project going on right now, and the new building is right off of Lake Winya, and apparently they're, if I understood correctly, and I think I did, they're putting an amphitheater that faces out over the lake.
Wow,
and
nice.
So that should be ready by next Easter. Ooh. And if that's the case, then they indicated that they were very open to us using that next Easter.
That makes planning a little easier.
Doesn't it? Yeah. And so, that would be, if that's what works out, I think that'll be nice. If not, we can hopefully do the same thing we did this year. It was very nice. It was really, really enjoyed it.
Well, I did, in full transparency, I did set my alarm for 6 a.m. and because I knew I would need to get up I figured Heather would be up. I was wrong. And so I went to each location where the said ladies were sleeping, and the breathing was heavy and rhythmic, and clearly tired. And so I was like, am I going to be the guy that if Mom was up, everybody would have gotten up. And I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should just go by myself. So I laid back down in bed and I grabbed my phone and I was gonna text Melanie. And when I woke up, my phone was stuck at my throat. And, Heather was rummaging around in the kitchen because we had family for Easter brunch at 10:30. And I was like, well, I guess not this year.
There's always next year.
And then I picked up my phone and Lucas was like, bro, I was so tired. He's like,
next year I'll come by and pick you up on my way. I was actually at AHU by 6 a.m. So,
oh boy,
mercy.
And thanks, by the way, to Ruben. You know who you are.
Oh, I love Ruben.
Helped us get all the tiki torches set up and everything there. So thanks, Ruben, and also thanks for your help on securing the location.
The location. Ruben and family, amazing people.
Indeed.
Love them. Cool. All right, guys. Upcoming, I guess, this week, if you want to tune in.
Randy, tell us what's happening this next Sabbath at Whole Life. What's the topic? What's going on?
Well, I feel a little bit like Melanie not because I don't want to give information, but I haven't actually got a working title yet. I've got a couple that I don't like.
What's the idea behind this sermon, though?
The idea behind this is going to be, honestly, it's going to be an extension of Game Changers in a little bit, in that extra and who the extra is for, and what that extra and who those that are supposed to be doing the work. And everyone looks a little bit different. Everyone has a different journey.
Oh, cool. Are you going to tell a little bit about your journey?
Yeah. The opening of, we're going to use a few life stories of Randy to kind of
appropriate
set the stage.
Ones, right?
Appropriate.
Okay, just checking.
No, we there's a
those of us who worked with Randy know that we have to.
There's a disclaimer in the high school years that we're sharing a very, very, very mundane story.
Okay.
A good story, but and we're going to because as I was told multiple times from different people that heard that I was going to be speaking, and they're like, "This isn't going to be one of those sermons where, man, you should have heard how bad it was in my day, and it's amazing that I'm still alive and I'm still here." Like, we don't need anyone of those. Nobody wants those messages, and then they're like, "Well," and I'm like, "What's your story?" "Well, I stood the straight and narrow the whole time," and I'm like, "Yeah, we don't want any more of those stories either. We just want the truth."
Well, I just want to say thank you for preaching in my place, Randy. I'm really grateful.
Right.
This week I am going to be up in McDowell, Virginia for my
McDowell.
Yes, indeed. My grandma's 100th birthday. Happy birthday, Grandma. Early. She is turning 100 this Sabbath, and I am going to go up there, and with the family, we're going to celebrate. Nice. She's an amazing woman.
Which side?
My mom's mom.
Mom's mom. Okay.
So my maternal grandmother.
Yeah.
She lives on her own. 100 years old, lives on her own. Yep. She lives in the same house that my mother was born in. That she moved into right after she got married.
Wow.
My grandfather passed away when I was 7 years old. So you can do the math on that.
She's been a long time.
Grandma never got remarried, but that woman, I'll tell you what, one of the toughest human beings I know. She would have, I would say, it felt like a half-acre garden up until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Just a huge garden that she'd always take care of and, can and freeze and all that good stuff. So the house that she lives in is well over 100 years old. I think she and Grandpa bought it, or Grandpa maybe just bought it right before they got married. I think I'll have to ask her about that while I'm up there. But
details.
Anyway, but phenomenal person. So we're going to go up there and celebrate her 100th birthday with her. And so, Randy, thanks so much for and everybody just say a prayer, because I'm hoping that Grandma will do 60-ish with me.
That would be awesome.
So if I can talk her into it, she's she's a little camera shy, so we'll see whether or not I can really get her to do it or not. But I'm gonna try. So say a prayer that
we get that going. That'd be awesome.
Successful.
Well, I was actually I was happy to fill in, and it's been quite a few years since I've preached a sermon, and so it was fun to sit down and start the process and kind of work through the outline. And yesterday I finished a good solid. I think I could preach what I have, and then when I woke up this morning, I was like, ooh, I can already think of 3. Not big revisions, but a few things I would just word a little differently, and a point or 2 that I would change just to be better.
Well, just remember that Lucas needs your sermon by.
Well, so
I got you, bro.
this the graphics. If they don't look as good as normal, just know that I did them. If that, because it could turn out to be that. I did find some things, because we're going to go a little old school, a little retro, because Randy's been around for quite a while. So when we tell some of the stories, some of the things we're telling stories about are old, and ChatGPT took about 15 prompts to find what I was looking for.
Wow.
But they did find it, and just like I was going totally from memory, because I haven't used said items since I was about 2 years old. So that means that's about 53 years for them to go back into the archives to find it. So,
but they found it.
They did. They found it, and I could smell it when I saw the picture.
You're preaching this Sabbath, then I'm back. I'll be back Sunday.
Okay.
So quick up and down.
Yeah.
But back, and then I'll be preaching the next week on healthy spiritual growth. It's going to be our graduation weekend celebration that weekend, and I want to talk to all of us, but especially our graduates, about what it means to be growing spiritually in a healthy way. I get a lot of people that will send me a link to this preacher or that preacher, and what do you think about this person? What do you think about that person? And so this is, I'll still be happy to tell you what I think, but this is a sermon where I'd like to kind of lay out what I think you need to be thinking about when you're listening to different spiritual resources, when you're evaluating them, when you're thinking about them, including whole life for that matter. I'm hoping that we can live up to the standard that I'm going to lay out there, but I want to kind of share what I think you need to know about looking for healthy religious input, healthy spirituality versus toxic, and spirituality that's detrimental to your overall spiritual well-being.
Man, this is going to work out really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm working on inclusion. Who needs to be here? Who needs to be part of the family? And what your next step might be.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And so now we're going to be giving you. So then the next week we'll be giving you some resources. It sounds like.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Hope you enjoyed Easter as much as we did, preparing it and worshiping with you. And, look forward to seeing more of me this week, for better or for worse. Thanks for listening, guys.
It'll be for better.
Have a great week. Thanks for listening to This is Whole Life. If today's conversation resonated with you, we invite you to subscribe, share, and leave a review on your favorite listening platform. To join the conversation, send a text or voicemail to 407-965-1607 or email podcast@wholelife.church. To learn more about Whole Life Church, worship with us online or in person, visit our website, wholelife.church. Until next time, this is Whole Life.